Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Suzanne Holt, Norwex Silver Senior Vice President, and I am so excited to introduce you to my friend Ryan Leake. Ryan is a speaker, an author, and an executive coach. He speaks to more than 200,000 people every year and trains 12,000 leaders. So I am so honored to have him sharing with us today. He is going to be speaking about a very important topic, self-care.
Awesome. Well, hello everyone. I am so glad that you have joined our webinar today, our Zoom. What do we want to call this, Suzanne? Our Zoom conference, our Zoom training. It's so fun. Me and Suzanne, we got connected via social media. That was probably what, 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago. And I said, Suzanne, you're like the greatest sales woman, leader, awesome mom, white, like you're like wonder what, like what in the world, how have I not heard of you? And we've got to do more together. And so we've just, man, I've just thoroughly enjoyed getting to learn more about the Norwex world, universe. I don't even know what words we want to give it, but I just, and when I mentioned Norwex to a few friends, they're like, you know people within Norwex. I'm like, I do. What can I say? That's life sometimes. So very honored to get to just spend a few moments talking about a subject that I think is very important. I've seen so many people uh, exert an absurd amount of energy trying to get what they believe that they want, and in the process they can actually lose what actually matters the most. Just to learn a little bit about me, I am married to Amanda, and we have a story that you may or may not have heard of. I'm just going to assume that you haven't. So when me and my wife were dating, I overheard her tell a friend she thought it would be cool to get engaged and married on the same day. Now, I had no idea how that worked, what that meant. So I began guessing. I get to travel and speak for a living, and so I was consistently getting little details from my wife about where she would want to get. We dated for 5 years. We knew we were definitely getting married. So my wife was kind of always waiting for an engagement of sorts, and but she was not anticipating a wedding whatsoever. So through my travels and through, man, lots of recon work for 2 years, I began planning a wedding behind her back. Well, on June 7th, 2013, I got down on one knee and I said, Amanda, will you marry me? She said, yes. I said, just kidding. Will you marry me today? And we opened up a lounge room door, and 100 of our family and friends were standing in there with a sign that said, today. And we were engaged for about 10 hours, long time. And we rolled in a dress, hairstylist, makeup artist, everything that you would need to get engaged and married on the same day. This is another picture of us at the reception. The one of the largest storms in Florida's history came through on our wedding day. It was an outdoor wedding that we were able to move inside. Absolutely insane. If you want to watch the whole thing, you can watch the surprise wedding on YouTube. It's got about 1.4 million views. We got to go on Good Morning America, some fun stuff, and got engaged and married. And then we started having babies. These are our children. On the left there is Roman. He don't look like that anymore. I need to update that photo. I just realized that he's definitely gotten older. He's almost 2 now. And also there, you see my wife pictured, and our oldest, who is 6. His name is Jackson, and he's a prankster. Believes he's Spider-Man, Black Panther, Captain America, and believes he runs this house. He absolutely does not. Now, that's what you need to know about me. But today, it's not about me. Today is about you and how you can take care of yourself better. I realized that 2020 was dominated by a few things. Our conversations were largely surrounded by COVID-19. And for a lot of us, what that meant was also us having to figure out distance learning. So a lot of us were figuring out this, like, it was like our worlds were being invaded. There was this, like, wait, what do you mean? Like, I got to have two jobs now? You want me to, like, be the teacher? That's a teacher's job. So now I've got to babysit. I've got to figure some things out. Again, it felt so all encompassing that, again, it really sucked up a lot of our dinner conversations. And then the other thing that took precedent last year was race. So we were having, from Ahmaud Arbery to Breonna Taylor to George Floyd, it became this thing. It became this thing of, like, this is the subject of conversation, almost as if the news, the media, social media gets to determine the trajectory of most of our conversations and our perspectives on what's happening. And obviously, politics also took precedent in a lot of our conversations. I, I constantly am working with leaders and organizations around this idea. There are 70 million people that voted for the other guy, depending on who your guy is. And we feel that. It's like, wait a second, like, it's like this friend you used to have. There's this thing in the air, like, wait, are we still friends? It's over. Wait a minute, is it over? Yes, it's over. Wait, well, what does that mean now for our future? And I know so many people that either A, lost friends in 2020, or B, just there was some distance put between them and someone else. And so these things that you see on the screen, from COVID-19 to distance learning to race relations, diversity and inclusion, and politics, it's like, well, what else is there to talk about? And I think these subjects certainly deserved our attention. But I would argue that they did not deserve all of our attention. And perhaps in the process, we missed some very, very important things that need to be talked about. And I believe one of those things was self care. It was easy at the beginning of a pandemic when we were told to stay in our houses for 2 weeks. It's been a long 2 weeks, I like to say. It was like, well, I'm going to get these snacks just for 2 weeks. Like, we're just like let's just go to the store. We're gonna be together. Like everything just kind of started to slip away. I mean, I remember when we used to have this thing called screen time limits. It's just like, this is the amount of time that our kids can be on. We lost that like in April. It was just like, hey kids, it's virtually unlimited at this point, and then we can kind of just lose our way. And then we can't forget that we've got careers, we've got goals, we've got benchmarks that we want to hit, we've got standards that we need to meet, and so you find yourself in this ruthless journey of achieving all things that I'm not always sure that add value to who we are as a person. And I know for me, even in my business, March hit and it was like, okay, you travel and speak, and now you can't travel, but you can still speak. So what does that really mean? And so what we do is we pivot. We try to figure out new ways. We try to figure out how to adapt, and we change, but sometimes we forget to pause and go, wait a second. Am I okay? I want you to ask yourself that question today. Am I okay? Maybe for the next 50 minutes, this may be the only 50 minutes you have all week where you have permission to not be okay. Full permission. And at 3 o'clock, you can go back to being super. But for the next 50 minutes, I don't need you to be anything. For the next 50 minutes, I need you to be exactly who you are. And really ask yourself some very, very deep questions, because here's what I've learned. We cannot make the mistake of giving most to what matters very little, in giving very little to what matters most. I can't tell you the amount of energy I've seen a lot of my clients give their business. And if they were to give 10%, 25% of that same energy to their marriage, if they were to give 10, 25% of that same energy to their relationship with their kids, if they were to give 10 to 25% of that energy to their home, man, to their overall health, I wonder where they could really go if they were truly whole. One of the things I realized about our nature and our role as leaders, as high impact individuals, is it's our nature to kind of take care of ourselves, but it's easy to forget to take care of others, but it can be easy to forget to take care of ourselves. Here's what's at stake. What's at stake when we don't take care of ourselves is we run the risk of burning out and having nothing to give anybody. So today, I want to talk to that person who's killing it right now, but you're on E. Your energy's low, your smile is great. But if you were to be very honest, you're on E. I found this to be true. You can tell a lot about a person by how they respond to the gas light on their car. Okay, like we all kind of have our gaslight ideology, okay, our gaslight philosophy, if you will, right? There's the person that sees the gaslight come on and they think to themselves, we have to pull over right now. We have to get gas right now. Something's wrong. I do not want to be on the side of the road without gas. Okay, that's some people's thought. But then there's those special individuals that believe the gaslight is simply what happened before 100 miles go by, and then that's about when you should get gas. It's like it's a nice warning, but I still have about another week. No, you don't. You are going to run out of gas. I remember in college, I had this friend. He had this old Chevy Impala, and his gas gauge had completely broken. He was completely unaware to measure how much gas was in his car. The gas gauge either said full or empty. That was it. But that was not a true indication of what was actually going on in the vehicle. So what he did is he looked up the miles per gallon of the vehicle. He would go to the gas pump, simply fill it up, and then like the number was like 257 or whatever. Okay. And so that was how we sort of did the math on how much gas was in his car. So he would let me borrow his car from time to time, and I would say, okay, how many miles are left? Like that was literally the game that we would play. We ran out of gas 3 times in Minnesota, blizzards, side of the road, and all because we did bad math, because we had no idea that we were actually driving on empty. You know what? It wasn't the worst thing in the world. Sure, that I have to walk in the snow uphill to a gas station to get gas. Yes, I survived. But it's one thing for our car to break down on the side of the road because we're driving on empty. But when you're trying to be married on empty, my heart breaks for that person. When you're trying to have more career success, but your soul is on empty, it's no way to live. It's no way to work. You deserve better than that. Your kids deserve better than that. Your husband deserves better than that. Your wife deserves better than that. For the 2.5 men that are on this call, I don't know how many. How many? I think Brian might be there. Hey, Brian, good to see you. But the people in our world deserve better energy than I think we often give them. And so there are 4 areas of self-care that I think are vital for us to remain high impact people. If we're going to perform at a high level, I think we have to take care of ourselves at a high level. The first area of self-care is physical, how well we take care of our bodies. A friend of mine said a line to me in 2020 that has forever shaped how I see physical goals. He said, your future goals need you to be here for them to be accomplished. And I thought, yeah, I really hadn't even thought of it that way. I've got many goals for this year and years to come. And I'm realizing I need to be alive for those things to happen. Your future goals need you to be here for them to be accomplished. And so at some point, we have to pause and really look at our physical health and really ask ourselves some really great questions. And one of the first questions I think we have to really be asking ourselves is, how much rest are we really giving ourselves? Our bodies need rest. Our bodies will speak to us and tell us when it's about to shut down. I have a book coming out in June, and requires tons of writing. Um, I get to do quite a few corporate keynotes. I'm honored to do that, blessed to do that. I get to. I'm typically speaking at a church almost 90% of the weekends out of the year. So I'm constantly having to create content, which means my screen time is pretty high in terms of typing. The other day, I'm 34, by the way. Okay, so I did not expect what happened to me the other day to happen for a very long time. I started to have an eye twitch. Yep, my eye just started just flicker, just twitching for no reason at all. And I'm like, okay, Ryan, listen to your body. You just you've gotta take a break. And I think that there are moments in our society where we applaud busyness. We give accolades to the person. I work 80 hours a week, and it's going, I just don't know that that's actually good for you. It sounds good ish, but the more and more I hear it, the more worried I become for that person. That it's very, very to find balance in your life when you're giving 80 hours to one thing. And so one of the things I encourage people with often is, a great health plan is a rest plan. A great health plan is a rest plan. There needs to be a day on your calendar of nothing. Yes, it's also biblical. Biblical word for that would be Sabbath. But there needs to be a day on your calendar where it's no work. It's you're off. And if you're anything like me, you're a high performance person, even when you're not working, you're still working. Even just because you're not sitting at your laptop doesn't mean you're not still working. And I found that you actually have to engage in activities that actually shut your work brain off, and engaging in it, albeit a game, playing with kids, going to the park, and you've got to get a routine. But if I tell everybody this, you should have a day on the calendar that you're looking forward to. You got to have a day on the calendar that you're looking forward to. And I hope that the day that you have on your calendar is a day that you can rest. I tell you what, past 2 weeks have been really, really busy for me. But Saturday, Me and the wife, we're going to get some mani pedis. She's gonna get the mani. I'm gonna get the pedi. Trust me, I need the pedi. Her feet are fine. Okay. Um, and I'm really looking forward to nothing. And again, that's again for my own physical, for my eyes. Okay, my eyes stopped twitching. Okay, I needed a little rest. My body told me I needed that. But what day on your calendar do you have next where you go, I'm off, and I'm really off. If you could get 2 days, it's a miracle. Three, who are you? Okay, you've got superpowers, but a great health plan is a great rest plan. The other thing that I found is that I needed a quarantine routine because they took down the basketball hoops at Lifetime Fitness, which again, I was used to playing basketball 3, 4 times a week. And then just like that, I just wasn't. And so I had to get into a new routine. Um, I'm embarrassed to say this. I really am because I'm a Nike person through and through. Okay, my first job was at Finish Line shoe store. I'm a sneakerhead. I love shoes. In particular, I love Nikes. Well, through the running community, I discovered that Nikes aren't the best shoes for long distance outdoor running. They introduced me to this brand called Hoka's. Hoka's, um, compared to Nikes, just aren't the best looking things in the world. And that was challenging for me, okay? But nevertheless, I bought some Hokas to establish a new quarantine routine and started running. And that didn't go as well for me as I thought it would have. I actually got injured, but nevertheless, I'm glad that it stretched me. And since then, I don't want to say I complained about Hokas, but I challenged the Hoka organization to step up their game on designs. And not that it was me, but their designs have gotten better. And I ordered some new Hokas a couple of days ago to establish my 2021 routine of going, okay, if I buy running shoes, I will feel the guilt to actually use them and go outside and go for a run. The other thing that I subscribe to is Freshly. It's a meal subscription. I'm not. I don't like cooking. My wife, she cooks all the time for our kids. They're on very specific diets given their dietary needs. I don't have those same dietary needs, okay? And so it can be a challenge just with our schedule and everything of just, Freshly, the meals are already there. And again, it put me in a position to do something that one of my clients, one of the lines they use is they say you have to set your kitchen up for success. Now, what this means is, and I'll never forget what she said. She said, if the Oreos make, not going to not eat them. If it's in your house, it's a done deal. And so she's like, if you really want to be successful in this area, you've got to set your kitchen up for success. Set your pantry up for success. Don't let it get in the house. And so I'm not going to lie, those first couple of weeks, the things that made it into my home, the Pop Tarts, the Oreos, the Doritos, I don't even know how they got here. I don't know who bought them, but I can tell you who ate them. That would be me. That was me. And it was all me. Here's a question I want you to ask as it pertains to your physical self-care. In light of your future goals and aspirations, what are you doing for your body right now that will help you succeed in the future? The second area of self-care that I think is vitally important is our spiritual area. This is what I like to call soul care. What are you doing for your soul? One of the things that I think is very, very important in how we take care of our souls is meaningful work. I believe each and every one of us was born with a purpose to do a good work in the world in some way, shape, or form. How we do that in our community, given a pandemic, requires creativity. But I don't believe that we should ever just retreat and say, well, whatever. Like we'll figure it out. like we'll just do that next year. No, I think we have to consistently think about, okay, what can I do right now that is incredibly meaningful? Whenever we subscribe to meaningful work, it puts our soul in a position to say, okay, man, I'm gonna do something for someone else. I think the other thing that's really good for our souls is meaningful relationships. Man, sometimes we reach all of our career goals and lose relationships in the process. Who do you have in your world right now where you could just be safe? You just don't have to be on, you could be off, you could not be okay, you could be honest. I think that's important. Man, I can't stress being in a small group of some sort, whether that's through a local church or even if it's a Facebook group, a group where you can truly be honest is good for your soul. The creator of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, the reason it was created was he discovered that the best way for people to overcome their struggles was to do so in groups. And whenever a person tried to overcome anything by themselves, they weren't very successful. So when we think about our souls and the things that our souls deal with, we really have to think about who's in my life right now that's helping me overcome this. And that's a two-way street. One on one hand, it's looking outwardly at other people and going, are they good for my soul? Are they helping me overcoming my hurdles? But then we flip that and go, am I adding value to them? Am I helping them overcome their hurdles? When I think about that, I think about my best friend James, who is uh, he is an accountability partner for me. He is uh, he's my, what I like to call, my integrity barometer. So if there's ever anything that I feel like is just off, I just call him and just go, hey, this is just what I'm kind of wrestling with. And I just, man, there's some things that if I don't have a peace about it, I just won't do it. Man, I can tell you 10 stories over the last week of things that I went, maybe I should do this. But then I just didn't have a peace about doing that. And I just realized, you know what? There's probably a better way to do that. Because you know what? Whenever we ignore those promptings, what often happens is it weighs heavy on our souls. And I value sleep more than many things in life. And one of the things that helps me sleep well is knowing that I've got a clear conscience and that I'm doing things with the utmost integrity that I possibly can. Another thing that's really good for our souls is meaningful experiences. Meaningful experiences. And part of that is going, man, are the things that I'm doing, do they are they providing meaning, or am I just busy? Am I just doing stuff just to do stuff? But there's no real intentionality of any kind. I mean, just think about that for a minute. I mean, think about what you've done in the last month. Think about what you've done thus far in 2021. And think about, man, how much intentionality have the events that I participated in really had when it comes to our children, when it comes to our spouses. How much do we really say, man, I really want this to be meaningful? I remember one of my mentors invited me and my wife when we were first married to go to Thanksgiving dinner with them. And so we were sitting at this restaurant, it's probably 15 of us. And he doesn't believe in regular dinners where you just kind of talk about whatever. He believes in intentional dinners. And intentional dinners look like this, where he'll pick a person and say, hey, I want us all to go around the table and say what we love about that person. And it's like, all of the conversations we were having about the weather, about COVID-19, about social distancing, about schools reopening, about all of that ceases, and all of a sudden, a regular meal just became meaningful, just like that. And so, even with my 6-year-old, we're practicing having meaningful dinners where, okay, everyone puts down their devices and the TV's cut off and there's no entertainment. And hey, sometimes we just pick a person and say, all right, we're all going to go around and say what we love about mommy. And we try to make it fun, but not just fun, but meaningful. The other thing we're practicing with our son in trying to be intentional and create meaningful experiences is we call it 30 seconds with God. And this is what he does. For 30 seconds, he just sits silent and asks God to speak to him, give him pictures. He sees all types of things. And we just sit silently for 30 seconds. We just pause and we just try and have a meaningful experience with our son. So the first couple of times we did this, we said, "Hey, so in that 30 seconds, did God say anything to you? Did you hear anything? Did you see anything?" He goes, "Oh yeah, oh yeah." We said, "Well, what did God say to you?" He said, "I'm the best Jackson in the world." And I said, maybe he said that, maybe he didn't. I don't know, but you know what? I like that you paused. Probably I don't know, third, fourth time we did it. We go, "Hey, buddy, did you hear anything?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "What'd you hear?" He said, Jesus told me that you're the best dad in the world." I went, he may have said that. I doubt it. But hey, nevertheless, we're teaching him to pause. And that is what is meaningful. And the more and more that we can provide that for our children, we're far from perfect parents. But you know what? We are committed to having meaningful conversations, meaningful dinners, and really not just eating because we're hungry, but actually doing it because it's good for our souls. So the question I want to ask you is, in light of your future goals and aspirations, what are you doing for your soul right now that will help you succeed in the future? The third area that I think is vitally important that we take care of ourselves in is emotional. Emotional. This one is very somewhat elusive. Like, how do we take care of our emotions? How do you even have the wherewithal to recognize when you are out of whack emotionally, and not just someone telling you that you're emotional, because it's not bad to be emotional. But it's one thing to have emotions, it's another thing to be ruled by them. I love this definition of emotional health. It's comes from the American Association of something that I read a long time ago and I forgot. But here it is. It's on the slide. Emotional health is the ability to feel and respond to emotions in a way that is adaptive and functional, that supports one's relationships and autonomy, and is in alignment with one's core values. I want you to think about that for a minute. Am I at a place where I'm adaptive and functional? So when something happens that rubs me the wrong way, how do I respond in that? And I have found that obviously in 2020, we found more things that we could disagree on than ever before. But I also think it somewhat revealed some of our true character. And I believe that when people post or say something that is offensive, it's often an invitation to pull us out of our true character. And so there are moments where people, even as a public figure, want me to respond in a certain way. And for me, I'm going, in light of the core values I have in my own life, no, I'm just not going there. It's not worth my true character, and it's not what I actually value the most. So there is this idea of being emotionally healthy where we really show up for our families and at work in a place where we're going, you know what, I want to be stable, and I want to make sure that my emotions are in line with my core values. The other thing I think is important about taking care of ourselves emotionally is our self-talk. Self-talk. One of my favorite books is called The Stories We Tell Ourselves. And the stories we tell ourselves, it's amazing. It breaks down the psychology of how we talk to ourselves. And one of the things that I learned from that book is this: what we tell ourselves about ourselves might be the most important conversation we have all week. I'm going to say it one more time. What we tell ourselves about ourselves might be the most important conversation that we have all week long, because it's important that we don't beat ourselves up before someone else does. And that's typically what we do. It's something that we learned in middle school. If I can make fun of myself first, then no one else will. The problem is sometimes we never grow up, and we stay in that place where we ridicule ourselves, we look in the mirror, and we just say the worst things to ourselves about ourselves. And I think it's important for our emotional state that we go, man, we beware of the conversation that we're having with ourselves and make sure that it's something that's very healthy. It's not overinflated. It's not lying to ourselves, because that's equally as dangerous. But I think being able to speak positively to ourselves about ourselves is crucial for our emotional state. One of the ways that I think that we can deal with feelings or emotions that are out of whack, I like to call, some people feel like feelings is the F word, and it's the word that people are the most, oh, well, we can't talk about that at work. This is business. We don't have time for feelings. But I think we have to make time for feelings because we're human beings. We're not human doings. So one of the things that I found to be helpful in terms of managing our emotions and managing our feelings is journaling. It's this process of writing down how you feel about a certain time, a certain person, a certain incident, and you write it down. And what journaling allows you to do is, it's not that it's what it's doing for you in the moment, it's what it's going to do for you later. Because there is nothing better than looking back on something you wrote a year ago, and you're going, I I freaked out about that. Like, I thought that. I actually said that out loud to another human a year ago. Like, what was going on with me? And what history teaches us is that there are moments where we overreacted. So, in light of what we saw in the past, what we can see, what we've journaled, it gives us course correction for how we should respond now. So, when we look back and go, I can't believe I freaked out about that, it might make us look at something right now and make us ask ourselves this question today: is there anything I'm overreacting to right now that I'm going to regret a year from now? And it what it does is it just brings us balance. It also works the other way. You might be looking at your journal and go, I completely underreacted to that. Like, I can't believe my son was going through that and it wasn't a big deal to me. I can't believe a friend of mine lost their father to COVID, and it was that not a big enough deal to me? And it could make you go, right now, I really need to show up for my friends more. I need to be more emotionally engaged because, man, that's good for me and it's good for the relationships. That's why I think journaling is so pivotal, because it allows us to see history a little bit clearer. Sometimes for fun, I just go look at what I posted on Facebook, because that's the online journal, right? Just look at what I posted 5 years ago, and I'm just like, who is that person? Why did you say that? You're clearly in your 20s. What in the world were you thinking? And again, what it makes me do now is it makes me think twice before I post. Makes me think twice before I say something publicly that I might regret privately later. We're going, why did you? I've listened to messages, keynotes I did 2 years ago, and I go, Ryan, no. Why? Why did you say that? Why did you say? Again, it's a constant learning thing, and I think it's really good for our emotions. It also allows us to identify some of our triggers, and identifying triggers is huge for emotional health. So recognizing that a pattern happens whenever you do certain events. So for you, it could be social media could be a trigger. It starts off with, I've got a little free time, just kind of want to do a little mindless activity. Swipe, oh, that's cool. Swipe, oh, that's cool. Swipe, wait, where'd they go on vacation? Swipe, they got a new car. Swipe, wait, their family did photos during COVID? Where'd they get those outfits? Swipe, wait, their kids are back in school? Swipe, wait, that mom built a whole elementary classroom out of their movie room, and like I didn't do that for my kids. Swipe, and before you know it, in a matter of 60 seconds, you have been put in a brand new emotional state you weren't in 60 seconds ago. You've got to identify what your triggers are. I know for some people, Twitter just gets them. People just, and there they go. They're fired up. For some people, it's Facebook. For some people, it's a neighbor. For some people, it's an in-law. I mean, you've got to identify your triggers and prepare for those triggers. If it's a person and you know they're going to be on Zoom, or you know they're going to be in your home, you want to emotionally prepare for that person. You don't want to be a person that other people have to emotionally prepare for, but nevertheless, any one of us could be that person. And that's what we have to realize about ourselves, is that we could be triggering someone else. Again, this is all about being very, very self-aware. And the other thing that I would tell you about self-care is you want to practice self-compassion. You want to practice self-compassion. And I hope you try this at home. Give yourself a break. Give yourself a break. You may not need to reach every single goal you set out to make. And I know as a motivational speaker, I'm not supposed to tell you that, but more than motivating you to reach higher heights, if those higher heights come at an expense that you really can't afford, who cares if you're a millionaire someday, but you're broken privately? I would rather you be whole and have a regular, decent life and a family that you're fully engaged with. I'm not saying you have to choose between the two, but oftentimes I found that people do choose between the two. And I hate it when I see somebody choose the wrong one. So, yeah, practice self-compassion. Give yourself a break. The question I want to ask you, in light of your future goals and aspirations, what are you doing for your heart right now that will help you succeed in the future? How are you guarding your heart? Matt, I have friends who have deleted social media altogether. I don't know one person. I can literally count on one hand the amount of friends I have that have deleted social media. Not one of them has gotten worse. All of them have said the freedom that entered their life without it, the amount of anxiety that decreased. The comparisons. There's not much to compare. And for some of my younger friends who were a part of the selfie generation, they said, I take 20 photos just to try and find just that one perfect angle. And not having to do that or think about that anymore has been so freeing. It's been good for their heart. I don't know what your trigger is, and I don't know what your emotional state is, but I do know that you should have a plan around taking care of your emotions before they get out of control, and then you find yourself up a creek. That's not very good. The last area that I think is very, very important for taking care of ourselves mentally. What are you doing for your mind? And I like to tell people this. You want to treat your mind like you would your body. Be careful what you feed it. Be careful what you feed it. And you've just got to think about all of our mindsets are being fed by somebody, something, some channel, some screen of some sort that puts our minds in a certain space. So I like to tell people to be very intentional with what you're feeding your mind. The second thing that I think is so good for our mental state is developing a habit of gratitude. Here's what I mean by that. Our capitalist society that everywhere we turn, we're exposed to the temptation to want more, to climb higher heights, to renovate, to get a second home, to always be getting better and improving, which I'm all for. But if you were to ask me what I think would make the world a better place, I think it would be everyone being content. I think it would be everyone all at the same time. So you remember back in the day, like during recess time, it was like 1 o'clock, everyone took a break and everyone just started throwing balls. Okay, like whatever. Like we go to the playground and it was just now. I wish we all had that, except I wish every day at 1 o'clock, we all had to walk outside, turn around and look at our homes, and all at the same time scream, it's enough. And like move inwardly into the garage and we just look at the vehicles and we just go, and then it's enough. And then make our way into our kitchen and go, it's enough. The oven works. Turn it on. You can cook food in it. It's awesome. As I told you before, I'm a sneakerhead. I love shoes. Every now and then, I just have to walk in my closet and just go, just grab a pair and just hold them. Just hold them. And just go, God, thank you. Thank you for what I do have. But you know what? It's easy to do, and I'll be very honest with you. Me and my wife moved into a home in a neighborhood that wasn't fully developed about a year ago. We were the third house on the block. So we got this new home. It is not a monstrosity whatsoever, depending on your definition of monstrosity. There's no basketball court. There's no pool. Okay, but house is beautiful. My wife does interior design. She's great. We got to pick options. You want white brick. You want this. You want that. Well, as now the entire street is fully developed. As each house went up, almost on a daily basis, we'd pull out of our house and go, oh, we should have did that. That's what we should have did. Yep, we should have picked that color. Look, do you see what they're doing? Yep. I see that. One of my neighbors got a Tesla. I said, we need a Tesla. That's what we need. That's what we need. We need We need a Tesla. Another neighbor started putting up Christmas lights. I said, hey man, you got people coming to put your Christmas lights up. What's the company? He gives me the company. I said, babe, we need to call this company and put up Christmas lights. She's like, no, we don't. Their Christmas lights look good enough for both of our houses. I went, you're right. You just saved us about $800. I mean, I'm looking out my window right now. I can see my neighbors running across the street right now, and I'm already kind of curious. Like, what do y'all got going on over there? Like, what? Like I'm kind of like peeking in their garage. Like, okay, I see they got storage up there, babe. We need storage. You see, they got. And before you know it, whether you're doing it online, whether you're doing it offline, you can just find yourself comparing your life, your stuff, to everybody else. But man, this is not good for us up here. There's something so powerful about when we wake up and just go, God, I just thank you so much for everything you've given me in my life. You've blessed me with relationships. Thank you for my spouse. Thank you for my kids. Thank you for an opportunity to produce well. It's hard to ruin somebody's day that's grateful. It's hard because they're constantly counting their blessings. I had my 6-year-old count his toys. He goes, what? What do you mean? I go, I want you to count your Legos. He said, but each individual one. That's right. I want you to count them. He goes, but that's a lot. And I said, I know. That's the point. When we all begin to count our blessings, I believe that we begin to realize, man, we got a lot. In fact, I know very few people that count their blessings and don't realize they have more than enough. And part of what I'm teaching our son, and part of what my wife is teaching our son, is that whenever you have more than enough, you look for people that don't have enough and you just give. You just give. You can only do that when you've developed a habit of gratitude. That's a mindset. It's a mindset that's going, man. I got more than enough. And I don't have to spend my life constantly searching for more. And I think that puts us in a mental space of just looking around the world with a little bit different of a lens. You know, when people say, oh man, our country's messed up. I'm grateful for the United States of America. I don't agree with politicians and I'm not always excited about policy and laws, but I've visited other countries. And let me tell you something. When I come back, I literally kiss the ground. That's how much I love the United States of America. I'm grateful for running water. Oh, I'm grateful that when I turn on the light, I never think about, man, what if it doesn't cut on? I've never had that thought. I'm just extremely grateful. Extremely grateful. And I think what it does is it puts us in a mental space where we're appreciative of what we've been given, the opportunities we've been given, the relationships we've been given. And I found that it puts us in a better mental space to be mentally healthy. So my final question for you is this: in light of your future goals and aspirations, what are you doing for your mind right now that will help you succeed in the future? That's what I want you to think about today.
That was awesome, Ryan. I
Thank
think the
you.
Norwex world would love you. The chat's blowing up with people saying,
Is that right? Let's see what the chat's going on. What do we got in the chat?
someone said she started crying and wants her husband to hear
Oh,
this. I'm also
oh
getting text
wow.
from people. I knew the Norwex world needs to hear.
Oh, that's cool. I see some messaging in there about Hokas. I wanted to leave 5 for a little bit of Q&A. I don't know if you had any questions or if people in the chat want to ask some questions or anything that we can we can do to serve you guys today.
I was in my typical mode when you're speaking, lots of notes.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome.
Thanks for letting us record it. I know I'm going to need to go back and listen again and take more notes.
Sure.
So now we're talking about shoes.
Yeah. Focus is where it's at, I've heard. So,
well, when you talk about gratitude, at Norwex, we really have been supernaturally blessed the past year. So we are all very fortunate to be a part of that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it.
There we have a question. Any idea, Ryan, on activities that can make you intentional with your spouse or children?
I think dinner time is where it's at. I think we got to get past how was your day. I think any activity that can say, even putting into practice what we just talked about. I think tonight, having everyone go around, Thanksgiving cannot be the only time where we say what we're grateful for at the dinner table. That should be a regular practice. And especially if we want to raise kids that aren't entitled, I think part of we all could do that tonight, to just go, hey, everybody go around. What are you grateful for lately? It shouldn't be a holiday tradition. I think that should just be a tradition. That should be a norm, I think, in our homes.
Yeah, that would be a great question at bedtime for little kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That's when we talk about distance learning. You mentioned that absolutely a stressor. But one thing I've loved about it is lunchtime, when they slow down and just start talking about things that normally an 18-year-old would not be talking to his mom about.
Nope. So I can only imagine. Mine is 6, and the things he wants to talk about are all over the map.
Yeah. Lots of people saying they wish you were a speaker at Leadership or National Conference. And I said, I'm working on that.
Yeah, more to come, right? More to come.
And you haven't really plugged it, but I will, because I love your Chasing Failure story. So your book's coming out in June.
That's correct. That's correct.
You're going to do another.
And we're going to talk about that. We're going to do another keynote on that too. So we'll save that one. But yes, yeah, very excited about a book that comes out in June, and lots of ancillary materials that come with that. And we'll catch up here in a little bit, but super excited about everything that's going to be happening with Worthy Books and in the schools where we're going to get to impact around the country. So it's going to be fun.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, I'm not seeing any more questions. So should we say goodbye, and we'll see everybody again next time?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks again, Ryan.
Okay.